In this video, we're going to show you how to install a starter on your Ford Focus located on the side of the engine. With the hood open, locate your battery on the passenger side portion of the engine compartment. Use a 10mm shallow socket or wrench on the nut here. Now we did go ahead and spray this down with some rust penetrant to go ahead and hopefully loosen up that corrosion that was on there a little bit, and then wiggle this free. Pull that up and off. Now from underneath the vehicle, go ahead and locate the oil filter. Right up here is going to find the oil pressure switch, and then we have our harness. Want to go ahead and disconnect that. I'm going to press in on the side tab here, and then release that. Now if you follow the wire up, there is a little tab up here. We want to go ahead and separate that harness. We're going to use our trim tool to get up there and work that off like so. Now if we pull this wiring harness aside, there's a stud right here that goes into the engine or the bell housing itself. There's a 10mm nut on there, so we're going to use our deep socket on our 1/4" ratchet. We did spray that down with some rust penetrant, and we're going to see if we loosen and remove that nut. Now that we have that nut removed off of that bracket, and we have the bracket pulled back, we now want to go ahead and remove this lower stud. Now this is a 13mm. And try and get our gear wrench on here. I'm going to remove that stud. Now I'm using a combination of a deep socket and an extension onto the upper bolt here. Be able to drop our ratchet in right inside our cooling fan assembly to give us some clearance. You remove that bolt. Let's go ahead and reach down and try and separate the starter. Okay. Now right on the front side, we have some wires we need to disconnect, so we're going to try and tip this up. And we're going to use our 13mm socket and extension. I'm going to come on in here and loosen and remove this nut. Then we're going to remove that lower nut here. This is a 10mm. Now with those two nuts removed, I'm going to use a screwdriver. You can use another pry tool if you want. And we just want to go ahead and remove this. And pop that off. I'm just going to tuck that harness off to the side. Let's go ahead and grab that starter, and we just need to maneuver it around. Let's go ahead and feed our starter up into position. I just want to position it so that we can get those wires put on up top. Let's go ahead and install our little wiring harness here. The reason why I chose to do the wiring harness from the top here is that the intake comes really close to the nuts, and it gives you just an extremely small amount of space to work with. So it's easier to do this from up top. I'm going to install the lock washer here. Let's go ahead and get the nut started here, and do the same for the lower stud here. Get that lower nut installed. Now that we have that bottom nut tight, let's go ahead and tighten the upper one. Then we're going to go ahead and get our starter into position. Now on the front part of the starter, there's a little nub right here. That's where the shaft is for our gear. That needs to fit into the bell housing of the transmission. Once that lines up, the starter's going to line up. And go ahead and push that right onto that metal sleeve there. And we're going to get our lower bolt started. That's actually the stud. That's going to pretty much line right up, and then we can go ahead and start to thread that in. I'm going to throw my gear wrench on this here. Now, because these are sleeved, the bolts are just going to line up. So you don't have to worry about aligning those up. They're not slotted. And you want to make sure that's good and tight. Go ahead and push that harness out of the way here. Line that up and get that on. We want to go ahead and install that little 10mm nut to hold that harness. Then we're going to get our 1/4" ratchet up there with our 10mm. We're going to snug that down. Going to gently snug that down. It doesn't have to be super tight. Once we have that in place there, we'll go ahead and take our harness here. Has that little plastic anchoring tab on there. We're just going to push that onto that stud and then install the connector on our oil switch here. Let's go ahead and get our lower bolt installed here. All right, let's go ahead and snug that down. All right, snug that down. Grab the ground terminal, connect that. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Give it a whirl and make sure it's nice and tight. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.